I'm here today with the ambassador of instrumental soul, a soul singer who expresses his emotions through his flute, originally from the Boogietown Bronx and now in Memphis, Tennessee, the incomparable Darryl Evan Jones. Welcome.
Wow, thank you. Incomparable. That's kind of heavy. Yeah.
Well, I've listened to your music. I've listened to your peers. You actually had me. I went back and I listened to Jean-Pierre Rampal. And I've listened to Nestor Torres, I've listened to Naji, I've listened to Tim Weisberg, I've listened to Herbert Laws. And I have to say, you are incomparable. You know, the classical training of Jean-Pierre Rampal, I'm sure you've probably listened to his work and thought to yourself, he speaks very classically. His skill is amazing.
It is.
It's almost as if he's been trained since he was little. And this is his way of communicating music.
I don't know. Because for me, Jean-Pierre Rampal, he was a bit of a rule breaker. And as an artist, if we're honest, every musician kind of borrows things here and there from others, right?
Yes.
So something that I borrowed from Jean-Pierre Rampal was I heard him doing something. I'm sure there's a technical term for it. I just don't know what it is. But I'm going to call it rolling into notes.
Okay.
And I don't recall hearing anybody do that. If they did it, they certainly didn't do it the way I heard him do it. And once I heard him doing it, I'm like, oh my God, I dig that so much. I've got to do that. And then I found myself, it's not like I practiced it or something, but I found myself playing rolling into notes. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually kind of cool.
When I listen to some of the music that you have put out, you play it, and if somebody, you know, in your group plays a different way, you all of a sudden you just go, yeah, I'm with it, I got it, and you're off. And you don't even, it's like it doesn't faze you. You don't get that look of, you know, what is he doing? I have to continue on it. It's sort of like, yeah.
I actually used to, believe it or not. Now, first and foremost, to even have my name mentioned after or in the company of the other names you mentioned is otherworld, mind-blowing for me. It honestly is, because I'm a realist. Some of my friends said, oh, someone said, no, it's not humility when you know what the truth is. The truth is, I know I'm not in league with these guys. So to hear my name mentioned there is huge. Now, with that said, early on, it's something I had to teach myself, unlearn. I'll say I had to unlearn. And some musicians will say, well, Darryl, you're still very rigid. I'm rigid with standards and excellence. I am. But I used to be so rigid where it has to be verbatim this way. With certain pieces, it's still that way because of the conversation that I created in the writing. I want people to hear that conversation. I don't want to change the conversation. Right. But one of probably the musician that I worked with that was most, pardon the pun, instrumental and helping me to break away from that was one of my producers, who's my drummer and MD, Taz Fields. I had to learn to let go and let the music take me and just follow it. In fact, we did a show that we, thankfully, virtually every song turned out it was a cover. We never had a rehearsal because nobody's schedule just wouldn't sync. So I told Taz, listen, just tell the guys, let's go. Let's just have fun. And we did, and the audience ate it up. It was the energy was incredible. And when you're in that kind of a moment, and you know, you just can't compare that to anything.
Yeah. I mean, that's when I've watched you playing your most recent works when you play, because you said you were rigid before, and I haven't seen anything that early on where you're extremely, as you call it, rigid. I see when you play, as I've mentioned before in a previous conversation, that sometimes your eyes are closed, sometimes your eyes are open, but when they're open, you're not looking at an audience or looking at your other band members or looking at the room itself. It's almost as if your eyes are open, but you're looking almost, as they say in some cultures, with a third eye, someplace else. You're somewhere else and you're seeing something else, and then your eyes close again and you drift. And then you come back and you're looking, but whatever it is you're looking at has nothing to do with the room that you're in. It's as though you're looking at the music in an optical way that has you continuing to play and flow with it. And to me, that's a natural, organic way of playing music, as opposed to looking up and it's as though you're reading the notes in your head. You don't do that. At least in the stuff that I've seen. I am sure that probably if I saw you early on, as you say, when you were rigid, following a conversation that you would define within music, you wanted the purity of the words of the conversation to come forward so that people heard it and said, this is what they're saying.
Yes.
But it looks like now you're having an organic conversation where anybody can butt in and say, hey, what about the Dodgers? And you go, the Dodgers? Oh, my word, what is wrong with you? Listen, this is what, and the music just carries the conversation. It allows it to flow in that direction. And when I watch you play with your band members, it's as though everything is just this organic conversation. You're sitting around the table. And I use this analogy with most of the people I speak with, that it's a conversation that you feel engaged as a listener. You feel like you can sit down and listen to it as though you're a participant. I've got my cup of coffee. I'm listening to the conversation. I can't butt in because I don't have an instrument, but the conversation is so involving that I'm a part of it. I feel a part of it, as opposed to an observer sitting way back and going, those guys are talking, but I don't know what they're talking about.
I know this is not possible, but it's as if you were eavesdropping on a conversation I just had with a buddy of mine last night.
Oh, I was. I've got your phone tapped.
It feels like it because I told him, and I've said this to many people, and this is no shade on anybody. This is the way Darryl's brain works. I don't understand the point of playing music in front of other people, an audience, and not relating to them and have them relate to it. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, and I told him, I said, just about anybody can appreciate your mastery of your art and of your instrument. They can appreciate that. But appreciation compared to relating, feeling a part, actually feeling it, to me, you can't compare the two. So to me, if just a bunch of guys, musicians want to get together in a room, a garage or whatever, and let's just jam and let's make this just our conversation, that's fine. Yeah. But once you decide you want to bring that music to an audience, you have to be playing to and for them. Otherwise, what was the point?
See, I can stop you there. I can argue the other side of that, which is if your music is authentic, if the conversation is real enough, and it's not something that's like, oh, this is just for us. It's very focused, and we're trying out different things, and there is no involvement of heart or soul. It's all mechanics. You're just trying notes and trying different things. That makes sense. I understand that piece.
Yes.
If you're playing authentic music, if you're playing something, even if it's a jam session in your garage, but it's coming from somewhere, anybody can be engaged with that. It doesn't require you to focus at an audience. You're focusing inward to express something. You're speaking your soul. If you want to make it esoteric, you're speaking your soul through the music, even if it's only within the group of you. But if somebody else hears it, they'll get it. They'll be able to engage.
As long as it is from your soul.
That's exactly my point.
And not just from, I don't want to sound the wrong way, I really don't, and not just from, because I'm so technically sound. Let me just display my technical prowess. Someone will hear that and they'll appreciate your technical prowess. Yeah. But are they feeling it? And the answer is no, because they don't understand it. So it would be like it would be like if I were educated at Oxford and then I go speak to someone who didn't finish 6th grade. Mm-hmm. And I speak to them as my professor at Oxford would speak. Mm-hmm. I'm so far over that person's head. Now it's insulting. They're not getting me. Now, the only difference there is that as long as that person speaks English and I'm speaking Oxford English, there's some point of connectivity. Yeah. But if that person speaks English on any level and I'm speaking Mandarin,
yes.
What was the point?
Yeah, there's no point to it at all. But from the perspective of technical skills. So when I said I was listening to Jean-Pierre Louis and he was doing a class, he's basically teaching a class on détaché. Listening to it, first thought is technical skill. Wow, I'm appreciating the skill.
Yes.
But then when he starts to play it, and you can feel it because he's going, this is da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It becomes more than just the technical skill. You're beginning to feel his own appreciation of the music, and it comes out in the music. And so you listen to it and go, wow, that's not bad. That's really good.
Yeah.
It becomes a little more engaging in, as I've said, the stuff that I listen to, very technical, very skilled. And I don't think I could get as fully engaged as I do with your music, because yours is organic. It's very, very, it's less about the technicality, as you said. I'm so skilled, listen to me play, I am so skilled. It is more of a, hey, listen to us. We're having a conversation here. It's a musical conversation. It's instruments playing together, and we're putting sound out. But it's more than just putting sound out. We're having, as you called it, a conversation. There's words I'm expressing here. You may not know the language, but the sounds are phenomenal, and you'll pick it up as you listen. And that's the thing that music does. A lot of the times I know from our previous conversation, you have this ability to make yourself seem smaller than you are. I don't know if I'm that good. I don't know if I'm to put me in names with these guys. I've listened to both, and I fit you in the same category because you are in the same category. It's a way of expressing music in an engaging way. Even if you're just playing, I'm goofing around. I hear the goofing around and I enjoy it. I feel like, oh, I'm part of the goofing around. Like, you're making a joke and I'm going, oh, I can laugh to this because I can get it. I can immediately walk into it because I'm comfortable. Your music makes you feel comfortable. It doesn't make you feel standoffish. I don't feel like you're demanding my attention and controlling what I'm supposed to hear. It's more of a, doors open, come on in, here's some sounds, listen to this, and you kind of go, oh, okay. It just takes me on the roller coaster I want to be on.
I appreciate that. I honestly do. I accept it. I just I'm almost glad my wife's not in the room right now, because I'd be getting I told you so. But no, it's one of the things that she and I'll mention more than she ever would. I do operate, mind you, to some degree out of fear. One of my fears, and gosh, she hates this. One of my fears is the fear of being clueless. By that, I mean, you ever hear or see someone do something and they're convinced they are here. And dude, you really didn't even get started.
Yeah, you're down at the...
Yes. I said, babe, that person, no matter what you tell them, that person really believes they're really here. And then what makes it worse is they get other people who co-sign that. So there's no way they will ever believe, what do you mean I'm not really that good? One of my fears is to be that guy.
I don't think you ever will. I don't think you ever will, because you're already starting at the wrong end of this conversation. You're already starting at the end that says, I'm not there. And then you play and you go, people will listen to it. Okay, he's there. He just doesn't know it. He's there. I don't know what his problem is, which is good, because as you say, once you get up there, you stop having conversations with people and you start talking at them.
Yes.
And that's the thing you should fear, is talking at people with your music as opposed to talking with them. Because the way you play, you share, right? As opposed to dictate what you need to avoid. That's the thing you should fear. I never want to dictate music. I want to share.
I like that, man. Well, let me write that down. I'm really digging that. It's when you are when you understand how blessed you are to be a musician, because not everybody can be a musician, first of all.
And up high. I've got a ukulele that I can strum on a little, but that's about it.
I'm so humbled by it. I honestly am. I'm a people person. I believe, and thank God it's been proven, I can go literally anywhere in the world and somehow find common ground with somebody. I was blessed to do it in my day job, all over this country, in 2 cities in Europe, in 2 cities in China, in South Korea. And with all the ways you can do that, I can't imagine a way better than music. Because with music, you and I may not speak the same language, the same human language, but given the opportunity, I can connect with you on such another level through music that we don't have to understand one word coming out of the other one's mouth, but we understand each other here. Mm-hmm. And that is such a gift to be able to do that. Like I said, I'm immensely humbled by it. And when you can hear people as yourself understand and interpret your music in a way that as the artist, you don't even understand. It's, because, no, really, as an artist, we if we're honest, we don't really. We're there for the conception process, as I'll call it.
Sure.
And to use, I can't remember whose phrase this was, but when you are making your baby, you are always going to think, or at least hope, you've got a pretty baby, because nobody wants to think they have an ugly baby, right?
Everybody's baby is Winston Churchill. Come on.
Look, not everybody, but
everybody's baby. So, the first couple of months, it's give it a pipe or give it a cigar and give it a bowler hat. It's Winston Churchill.
But there's part of you that vulnerability, which is one of the things that shows you're truly an artist, is that you have that vulnerability because you're really concerned. But what if somebody thinks my baby's ugly? You don't know, but you got to put your baby out there.
Yeah.
And then when you hear some of the responses or see some of the responses, man, there's nothing better.
Well, I mean, that's lead in sort of to the questions that I have about fans and about your nerves, because I know you play to the public, you play on stage, right? You play live music as well as the in-studio music. And yes. I know from our conversation that you have a little bit of stage fright, just a little, no, just a little.
Stage fright.
So part of the conversation is around with the stage fright, what do you do? How do you get past it? What is the process of getting past it? Because that helps everybody who listens to this as it's played out, as the number of times we play it out, they'll hear this and they'll go, how can I use that? How can I leverage that? Because stage fright is stage fright, no matter what you do. Public speaking, if you're going out just to talk to a bunch of people at a bar or some friends, or you're going to karaoke sing, same difference. Yeah. So hearing how somebody who does this on a regular basis deal with it is really, really good. The other side of the coin is then how do you deal with the fans that really appreciate what you do? How do you approach it? Like if somebody comes up to you and goes, oh, you speak to me. My soul is burning with the music that you play. I will never not hear this. It'll be an earworm for the rest of my life. Yeah. This kind of thing is the other side of that coin. So how do you deal with stage fright? How do you deal with going on stage? How do you feel? What do you do afterwards? And then how do you deal with public? How do you deal with fans, the big ones and the smaller fans, the people that appreciate the music?
All right, so I'm going to answer the first part and have a short attention span. So you might need to reel me back and ask the second question again. I'll do the question first. The stage fright part for me, this is the weirdest thing. Public speaking for me, as opposed to playing, depending what I'm speaking about, is as easy as breathing. For example, for a brief time, I was an aircraft maintenance instructor on the Boeing 757 for a major airline. And that major airline sent me around the world teaching this airplane. Okay. Because of my experience and passion for this airplane, I had no problem. It was as easy as speaking with you now. Wasn't at all afraid. Because I guess it's because of growing up with being bullied and feeling so inadequate, that fear, that stage fright just became, if you will, this giant monster. And I honestly don't know where this came from, but thank God somewhere along the way, I developed this mindset that where now that I've recognized this monster is here, I have a choice. I can run from this monster. That's one choice. The problem is the monster, literally his food is my running.
Mm.
So as long as I run from it, the monster gets bigger and stronger and more fierce. Or I can stand and face this monster. The monster I may not ever conquer it. It may never get any smaller, but I refuse to run from it. I'm going to stand and face it. If you will, it's kind of like a dog charging at you. The worst thing you could do is turn and run from that dog. First of all, you can't defend yourself. You're not going to outrun him, right? And you just entice the dog, please come get me.
Yep.
But if you turn and face the dog, you at least have the possibility of defending yourself. So my stage fright, I run at it. I just throw caution to the wind and let's just do this. Quick example. You can probably see behind me here, it says Jeff Lauber. See that poster there?
Yes, I do.
I opened for him a number of years ago, and I remember sitting there at sound check. Because he's the headliner, he goes first, right? We were actually in Birmingham, Alabama. And I'm sitting there listening to this man, and I remember thinking, here's the PG rated version of what I was thinking. What the ham sandwich do you think you're doing here, opening for him? And I was about to leave and get in my car and drive home. And then I thought to myself, well, you know what? Number one, I'm here now. Number two, these people don't know me from a can of paint, so I might as well go ahead and do it. So I did, right? So for me, fear, I face it head on. I refuse to run from it. As far as dealing with people who have an appreciation for what I do, it is so humbling for me. People, the things some people have said would probably really blow up the heads of some people. For me, it's not deflating, it's grounding. For someone to tell you with tears in their eyes, oh my God, you don't know what you've done for me today. And your music speaks to me, and different things people have said. I give them as much time as they need. I do my best to speak to them here because this is where we are. None of us is above anybody. And I'm also quick to remind them that this sound and this talent that you hear is God-given. And I want them to remember that you are hearing a vessel of God. And that's what keeps me humble. It really does, because I know, in many ways I'm a train wreck. But in that, God still chose to make me a musician, and I understand how special music is to him. So I remind them of that, and I tell them, listen, this is I appreciate you. I thank you so much. I honestly do. And all that I do is praise to my Lord Jesus Christ. I make sure everybody knows that. Am I special? In his eyes, apparently I must be. But we're all special, and this is just what he's given me to share with you. So thank you for receiving it. That's how I deal with it.
It's you're a vessel for his voice.
Yes.
Have you ever had an experience where someone has said things to you, complimented, praised the work that you've done, and you, while trying to find the words to respond, had music in your head instead? Have you ever been in a situation like that where music was the first response to them? Like you had this, either an orchestrated or a single set of notes that just came through, and you want to express your response with music, but then you say words, and it's sort of like, these are much smaller than the thought that I've got.
I don't think so, because that would take somebody way more deep than me. So no, I don't. Not that I can recall. Bear with me. I'm also in that moment a bit awkward, and I don't know how much of this is what element or the other, but I'm never really sure of myself.
I wouldn't notice that. I haven't, through this entire conversation, I haven't noticed that you've been, humble. Let's just use that word. No.
really not. I'm just, I try to be honest with what I do.
Hmm.
And within that honesty, I know there are flaws. There's always room for improvement. There are going to be things where I wish, if I go back and listen to it or look at it, it's like, I wish I'd done this instead. But I was in the moment. I'm never leaving a performance like, yeah, man, I got that. And that's in stark comparison to, again, going back to aircraft maintenance, where I still tried to be humble about it. I knew there was concrete evidence whether or not, there's proof whether or not I know what I'm doing or not. Is this working like it's supposed to? Yes. Well, okay, I just fixed it. Is it not? No. Then, dude, you didn't fix it. It's difficult for me. Part of it, in a weird way, is just verification for me that is really my calling. Not that I wasn't gifted and blessed to have mechanical ability, but mechanical ability compared to the music art side of things, it's so different. It just really is.
The difference is, I'm gonna re-reference Jean-Pierre Roumpal. The difference is there's a mechanical side to instrumentation, to playing an instrument, to playing music. There's a mechanical side, perfection of notes, and the skill for vibrato, and for all of the technical aspects of playing music, so that people listen to it and they don't get the sharp, shattering things that make them cringe. And that's one aspect to music. And if you're capable of doing that, that's wonderful. But in your case, you go beyond that. So airplane mechanics, black and white. It is or it is not. Right? The plane flies or it doesn't, or it crashes. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about the difference, right? It's either going to work or it's not going to work. And sometimes it's not working, but the pilot manages to pull it off at the last minute and land the flipping thing, but it still wasn't working. The pilot's the one that pulled the magic out. In the case of music, there's the technical skill, which is the black and white. You either can play or you can't. You pick up a flute and you're going, nobody's going to say you play the flute. They're going to say you kill the flute. You didn't kill it, except for you killed it. Bury that sucker. Yeah. In your case, it becomes the esoteric. It becomes the emotional. It becomes the soul. It becomes conversation. It becomes a language. And language has subtleties. They don't have black and whites. There are so much gray. There's so much color. To that end of music, you have that skill. It loses the black and white. The black and white is the beginning. If you can't do the black and white of music, you can't do music. You go beyond the black and white. You are not just the hands-on, it sounds perfect. It's a conversation. And yes, you're a human being, so it will never be perfect. It will never be, because it can't be. As a human being with a soul, it's always organic. It's always changing. It's always going to be a slightly different conversation. Something in your own soul may make it different. You may be happier one day, and that comes through in the music. You may be a little cheesed off about something, and that'll come through in the music, and you'll listen. Why does that sound a little grouchy? I don't know. How do you get grouchy on a flute? But you'll hear it. And then the next time you play it, it's the same song, same notes, but all of a sudden it's got a different feel to it. It would be a different sound, because one would have this sort of an internal joyous kind of pride thing going to it, and the other one would be sucks. This sucks. I lost $20 here. And you'll hear it. Somebody who listens to music long enough will hear that in the conversation and go, what's wrong, man? What's going on? What happened? Or, oh man, congratulations. I don't know what it is, but wow, there's something going on here. And that's the skill set you have. You're beyond the black and white technical. And you should never feel bad about the changes that you experience. That piece when you play a song and you go, that could be better. You should be thinking, that could be different. And I can think of a couple of ways to make it different, but hey, this was good for today. Today, this was good.
I wish I could take everything you're saying and reserve hard drive space in my brain and have it on a continuous loop to coach me. But knowing me, I don't believe it'll ever be part of my psyche. I'm wired the way I'm wired, and I think I'm always going to feel not quite satisfied. And some people will call... I think we spoke about this when we spoke previously, and I think I mentioned Barbra Streisand. And people, I forgot who, I don't know if it was Dick Cavett, whoever it was, who was interviewing her. And, she was known as a perfectionist, and she called him on it. She said, no, I'm not a perfectionist because perfection is not attainable, but excellence is. And I really ascribe to excellence. Now that looks different and sounds different to different people. I get that. It's a battle, man. It's a battle. I'm sorry. I know where I think I know where I want to be with my skill and expression. And I'm not there. And while I don't want to say frustrated per se, but I'm not satisfied, that I know. But maybe, okay, let's just be honest. I'm frustrated because.
And you're not satisfied.
And I'm not satisfied. Now, being satisfied prolonged, it breeds something very dangerous called comfort or complacency.
Or lethargy.
Or lethargy. Very close cousins. Because anytime you're comfortable, you cannot grow.
That's right. You're not challenged.
You're not. And being challenged is a wonderful thing to expand your horizons and your mind and your abilities and all that. I'm just not sure if I know where those dividing lines are. I just know that I'm not happy with where I am. I probably never will be. My harshest critic, by far. I'm wired that way. I was probably even raised that way. And some of it I took on myself. But I take this very seriously. Now, I also understand in the real world that you're not going to reach everybody. No one of it is capable of that. I do want those who I do reach, I want to reach them to the utter depths as much as I can. I want them to leave the experience with an experience, not just, oh yeah, we heard some music. You can do that in your car, you know.
The elevator.
Yeah. So it's a constant struggle and battle for me. No woe is me. It's just, this is what it is. You know, sometimes life is just, it is what it is.
Yeah. But I mean, you don't have to look at it as with negative connotation. You can't look at it. I mean, you don't need to look at it as it's a struggle. I'm never getting to the where. It's a challenge that makes you challenge, makes you feel like you need to try more, expand more, grow more, learn more. But those are all positive things. And here you're at a really good place.
Thank you.
I like where I am. Now I can grow. I can continue to grow. I'll always grow because music is never perfect.
It's about the right perspective on things, which is, again, hard for me to do because I'm so critical. And that's probably to some degree a clashing of the artistic side of my brain with the analytical mechanical side of my brain. Mm-hmm. And trust me, they do battle, especially given, like I've said before, by comparison, my comfort zone lies on my analytical mechanical side.
Of course.
There's no comfort on the artistic side.
Black and white, colors, black and white, easy to determine which is one. Colors, you're going, oh, there's so many gradations. Which is the right one? You know, what's Dusty Rose? Yeah. Come on, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
The thing, if you want to do something, so I'm going to do something really strange with you here. You want to figure out how to make those two things work well together. Start looking up how to get your corpus callosum active, because in your brain, the corpus callosum is the thing that ties the left and right hemisphere together in your head. One of the hemispheres is mechanical. That's the one that you trust a lot.
Okay.
One of them is artistic. That's the one that you have issues with, because more than likely you have a strong, and I can't remember which is left and which is right, but you have a strong mechanical side that communicates more than the other. The other one is phenomenal because listen to your own music without thinking it's you playing, and you'll realize that the creative side of your brain is really, really good. If you get the corpus callosum active, the two of them work together in sync. And then the mechanic as well as the creative start blending together, and you start to see how the two work. And there is no voice that says, I'm better than you. It's saying, this is good. We can make it better by doing this.
I almost heard my wife in there for a second. not with the corpus callosum part, but when you said listen to yourself, my wife and I were listening to one of the recordings. I don't remember if it's from the current album or the previous one of the previous albums, whatever it was. And apparently I reacted and I was really digging whatever I was hearing. Let's say it was the keyboardist or the bassist, whoever it was. And
It was the grind. You were listening to the grind. I'm almost certain that's the one you were listening to, because I can see how you'd react to that. I can see.
And she's like, wait. How come you don't react like that to your playing? And I'm like, why would I? Isn't that kind of arrogant? And she just kind of gave me this look like, you just don't get it. You don't get it. No, I don't know. I'm going to look that up. I wrote it down on purpose.
Good, because you can do exercise to stimulate your corpus callosum. One of the easiest ones is take a walk. Walking stimulates the corpus callosum. Your path was determined the day before you existed, and you just simply walk on it now. So as much as you know, you're worried about doing something wrong, more than likely, even if you started down the wrong road, something out there in the great beyond would slap you upside the head and turn you back on the way you're supposed to be going. That's the way I see the world. I see the existence as being, you know, the machine that says this is where you're supposed to be.
Thinking back, I'm not going to pretend like I always walked the straight and narrow. I'm a human being, first of all.
I noticed.
I'm a Bronx kid, second of all. All my life, even when I was places I had no places being, doing stuff I had no business doing, I know, never heard the audible voice, but I know God was always there. And at times, in my own conscience, he spoke to me and would tell me things along the lines of, no, you know better. Get back. You know, get back where you belong.
Slap upside the head.
Yes. And he's allowed me to do a lot of things, but never allowed me to forget my assignment is music. I've been allowed to do many other things.
For instance, when you walked away from the flute for a while there, if I remember the conversation correctly, you're allowed to go there, but really, you know, we'll bring you back. We'll bring you back after these messages. We'll bring you.
Yeah, it was, man, it was strange because, okay, I started playing at 8, and it wasn't the cool thing for a boy to do, especially in the 70s.
Yeah.
It never was, you know. And then being a little scrawny kid, this little guy, by the way, I wasn't 5 feet tall when I started high school. So I was picked on a lot. I was bullied, you know. I'm not cool. I'm a nerd, you know, all this. And I'm all these things largely because of the instrument I chose. So for a while there was, I won't say love, hate. It was just a strange existence being this young flute player. And then once I got to high school, at first, oh my God, I really arrived, because all the senior, well, not all of them, there were a handful of seniors in the high school band who knew me from the Bronx Borough-wide band. So they were seniors. I'm a freshman, and they told the band teacher about me. And this man, Mr. Katz, God bless him, I'll never forget him. This man fell in love with me. Unfortunately, the next year, these guys all graduated. Mr. Katz, then he retired, and my classmates were envious. So somebody hatched a plot. Now, I'm not accusing them of actually stealing the flute, but when Mr. Katz was there, they had, I think, 4 brand new Bundy flutes. I was the only one allowed to play a brand new flute. And they hated that. They hated that, plus the fact that he basically gave me charge of the band in his stead. So once he retired, I remember there was this one Friday, and someone told me, hey, you know, did you hear what happened? One of the flutes got stolen, and they're saying it's you. And at first I busted out laughing, because I know what a new high school flute costs. And my parents had bought me, at the time, a sterling silver Armstrong flute, which probably cost 4 times more than that high school flute. So why would I steal that? You know, I've got a Ferrari in the garage, but I'm going to steal your Chevette. Really? Anyway, so once the dust settled over that, I had such a bad taste in my mouth. I'm like, you know what? Forget this. I never played in high school again. I played sparingly, like at home and at church, but I never played in school anymore. And instead, I looked to do things that would, didn't realize it at the time, work out my aggression, like like football.
Hmm.
And I played football out of high school and a little while in semi-pro. And unfortunately, I played it extremely violently.
I'm going to say you were in defense. I'm going to say you were not an offensive player. Oh, although you were an offensive player, you probably you probably played a defensive position. I'm almost certain of that.
I played corner, and then I moved to safety.
Ah,
And moving me to safety was about the worst thing my team could have done to other teams. I'll just leave it there. Sorry.
So your penance now is to very fluently speak with the voice that you now have, and you have to continue. And the other part of your penance is the fact that, so here's me looking at a perspective of God's view of what you've done, that he gives you the voice in your head that says you're not good enough, but gives you the voice that is, so that you never appreciate the voice that you have. How do you like them apples?
I do like that. See, I knew somebody would make sense of this. Yeah. Yes, that makes perfect sense. If that sounds odd to anybody, don't worry about it. It makes sense right here. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get
Yeah.
that chip for you. I'll get that chip for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, not a problem. Not a problem at all. So the flute you had from 8 years old,
Yes.
and you had a love-hate relationship with it.
Yes.
Did you ever have a mistress?
I did for a moment, a brief, very, very brief moment. I tried the alto sax.
Right.
I was an adult. I mean, I was married man, kids half grown, the whole bit by this point.
Yeah.
And I was listening to people who, hey man, you know, if you all you got to do is get that sax, and man, you'll have more gigs and this, that, and the other. So I tried it for a minute because the fingerings aren't all that different.
No, the fingering's not, but I mean, you're not using your mouth the same way at all.
There's your problem. Well, there was my and the fact that I didn't take lessons. So one of the things that I eventually learned was I was holding a mouthpiece in my mouth completely wrong. It wasn't until later I actually looked at videos and pictures of people and realized, oh, your mouthpiece isn't supposed to be straight on. That explains why I had the problem with my teeth that I had. So here I am playing the sax, and yeah, I'm not really feeling it. I'm really not. I think the end of it all for me was one time I must have played or was playing, and my wife told me, she said 2 words to me. She said, "Baby, no," and that was it. I put it down. If it's sitting over here right now, we just
Oh,
look
you
at
still have it.
it's right here. It's a beautiful looking saxophone that just sits there and collects dust because
Play a note for us. Come on, play it.
I don't even have a reed on it right now anywhere around. It's like, what can it read? I think part of it is that even if I was inclined, if I felt better about where I am with my flute, then I would feel okay about sacrificing time to learn the saxophone. But I'm not there. I mean, in fact, I have a digital keyboard sitting right here. This is really old school. Well, somewhat. It's a Roland JV90. Most people know.
What is that, 80s? What are you doing? Pulling in 80s equipment?
That's exactly what it is. 80s, early 90s. It's sitting here, and I know just enough about the piano to be dangerous.
Okay.
And I've told friends that I never tried playing chopsticks or Mary Had a Little Lamb. Somehow, this is going to be ultra weird. So brace yourself. I actually taught myself how to play the introduction to Mariah Carey's "Always Be My Baby."
Oh, that's not bad. You're playing something that you listen to, so why not?
Yeah, and I'm like, so dude, see how weird this is? You can play "Always Be My Baby," but you can't play anything else. I'm gonna say can't. I haven't tried. Again, my focus is on trying to, pardon the word, perfect my flute.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I do that when I'm robbing time on that mistress or that mistress? Y'all can go away because I got my baby here to deal with, you know. So in the analogy, yeah, I did have those distractions, but they weren't, you know, I don't think I've thought about it this way until you asked me the question. They didn't feel fulfilling to me. It actually, now that you phrase it that way, it did kind of feel like cheating. Um, now that I think about it, yeah. We're with the flute. I feel more able to freely and at least somewhat fully express myself musically.
Mhm.
I don't think it may be unfair to say this, but I don't think I could do that to that degree on another instrument, no matter how well I learned it. The flute, I believe, is just my natural musical voice.
Yeah, I was going to say that the flute is your language of choice
Yes,
for music.
yes,
And any other instrument is a language that you could learn, but it would always sound unnatural. Like
yeah,
people would know, oh, you're speaking saxophone with a Bronx accent. You're
yes,
speaking piano with a Tennessee accent, or with a, yeah, a Tennessee accent. Yeah, a Tennessee piano. People would say, "Yeah, I'm getting piano, but he's got a Tennessee accent there. I'm not feeling it." Whereas you suddenly pick up the flute and he goes, "I'm hearing music. It's music. It's a voice."
in my brain, it's and y'all bear with me when I do this, okay? It would be the difference between I'm going all the way back to junior high school now, with the difference between me saying "Sur le pont d'Avignon" as fluently as I could versus now trying to say whatever I just said in even Spanish or Italian because they just were very very difficult for me. Where French, for some reason, just latched onto me like I was supposed to be speaking it.
Okay, your French
That's
isn't that good, so no, don't
no,
say it.
no, no. I said junior high school, man. I said junior high school. So, you know, it's been a minute since junior high school. So,
Other people have an articulate skill in communicating perfectly in a single language. They have the full gambit of color and vocabulary in that language that most people barely have. You know,
right.
somebody can pick up and go, make it sound like a recorder. And that's their ability to speak in that language. And you, fluent, 100% fluent, as much as you feel, no, I could do better. No, you are fluent. And now you have to push beyond and take the language further. It's like me speaking English and then suddenly being able to invent words in English that express even better the conceptualized things that I'm attempting to express.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
if I said a Thirlois and suddenly Thirlois becomes part of the Oxford Dictionary to mean this, all of a sudden I'm pushing the boundaries of the English language because I created that word to mean something and it means something now. You with the flute need to do the same thing. You need to push because you're not comfortable because you'll never be comfortable because of the sin of taking other instruments and playing football and being abusive. You will never feel comfortable with the skill that you have, but you can know inside yourself that you can go beyond. You can push the boundaries of your vocabulary with that instrument.
Yes, I can definitely push. There's another weird thing. In fact, I saw a video the other day on Najee's website, something he does for warming up. And then I heard another flutist and another flutist doing some whatever they were doing. And and every time I hear one of them, it's like, yeah, that's what a flutist should be able to do. And I don't do that stuff. So that's another part where so imagine if you're an NFL quarterback and you see what Patrick Mahomes does, what Lamar Jackson does, what Josh Allen does, what now I won't call any other quarterbacks' names, but just say you're a starting pro quarterback and you're making top dollar, whatever, but you're a fixture in the pocket. That's what you do. That's your game.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that though, yes, you're a starting quarterback, you don't feel kind of inadequate looking at Lamar and the other guys because you do.
unless you win the game against them, playing in the pocket.
Yeah.
And then that circumstance, it's not just you, it's the team, number one. Number two, your skill set is not dependent on how good they play. They can play a phenomenal game, and if the rest of the team sucks that day for whatever reason, they suck. Whereas you, if you play your strengths, where you are and how you play, you could beat their ass. You don't have to worry about it, right? You don't have to compare yourself and say, I don't do what they do. That makes me less. It's, I do what I do, and I'm really good at it, but I want to stretch. I'll try what they do. Maybe that'll give me a little bit more in what I can do, but maybe it won't. Maybe that's going to distract from my ability to communicate the way I do.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn that. I am.
Again, that's another part in the chip. We'll get that program.
Yeah, just add a little bit more code. That's all.
Just a little bit. Every once in a while, it'll fire in another thought. In the middle of the night, you go, "What? Oh yeah, that's cool. Okay."
It's funny. It's funny we talk about that because another thing that frustrates my wife. If I hear, remember I spoke earlier about we borrow things from each other as musicians, right?
Yes.
So if I hear something and then I learn that riff, whatever it is, then what I do is I want to learn that riff in all 12 keys. So I'll practice that riff chromatically. And then I'll practice it in fourths until I feel I have it mastered. And then once I'm able to do that, I feel like, okay, it's not a big deal now because now I can do it. So my wife's like, yeah, but why do you compare yourself to that? And I'm like, because do you know who these people are?
The people.
But then when I break it down like that, it's kind of like for anybody who reads sheet music, there are people who are absolute experts at. Now I can read, but because I haven't had to sight read in the longest time, I'll be honest. Me sight reading would be like a kindergartner trying to read Shakespeare.
Sure. Where
someone who does this for a living, they can sight read like you read the newspaper.
Sure.
I remember seeing a piece of music, and at first, when you see a new piece of music, when I do, all the notes look like this. But then as you work on it more and more, they spread out and the music gets bigger. So it's the same thing, when I hear something that, oh man, that sounds so impressive. And then once I break it down and I actually get it, it's like, meh, wasn't that impressive after all?
Well, no, it's because now you've become that impressive. And then you go, yeah, I'm not that impressive. So it's not that
Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I can do that now, so it's not that great. If I can do it, yeah. Kick that voice out, will you? Just kick it out and say, look, I can do it. And leave it at that. No, it's not impressive. No. Just kick it out. Just go, yeah, you know what? It is. It is what it is. I can now do this.
There's at least one thing that helps momentarily from time to time. It's called whiskey. But I try to have it sparingly at best. Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to be going to those meetings where they say, help me to change the things that I can and have the wisdom to deal with the things that I can't. And
yeah.
Hi, my name is Darryl. And
exactly. Yeah. And funny thing is, being a licensed aircraft mechanic has helped with that too, because though I do like to drink occasionally, because we know we can be drug and alcohol tested at any time.
Yep.
During the work week, rather than try to do the math, because the math, for those who don't know, is, as the phrase goes, 8 hours, bottles to throttles, which means before you clock in, the last drink had to occur minimum 8 hours ago.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like doing the math. So during the work week, I would never drink.
Yep.
So then the weekend would come and I might think about it. And, oh man, I didn't think about it all week. So now there's nothing in the house to drink. So just...
They invented a thing called bars, right? It's just a place you can go.
My scene, that's never been my scene.
Yeah, I know.
So odd for a New Yorker, but just not my scene.
So where do you play music? You play music out in the open, in the woods? You don't play it in places, in venues?
That bar, that's fine.
Yeah.
But just someplace that's just a bar,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna go there. Nah, that just wasn't for me. Hey, God bless anybody who likes to do that. Just not my thing. I'll play anywhere anybody wants me. Honestly.
Oh, good. So I'm having a birthday party in 2 weeks. If you wouldn't mind showing up, that'd be fabulous.
Don't play with me. I've got a passport. In fact, I thought it was up here.
Well, actually, I don't think you're allowed to come into the country anymore because they got the restrictions coming. So,
I think that's a one-way restriction.
Oh, okay. Well, no, it would look like you're leaving the country and they'd go, oh, tariffs on you. Sorry, man. But let's not talk about politics. Let's talk about music here. So we talked about fans. We've talked about your basically instrument of choice, and you've had very, very subtle mistresses, but you've tossed them aside because they don't really do it for you. They don't speak for you. But the music that you play,
Yeah.
you got a favorite? I know music. Everybody that I've spoken to, the music for them is like their children. Everyone they love every piece. There's flaws in their kids, as always. It's like, yeah, this one does this and this one does that, but I love all my music. And then you ask them, but what's your favorite piece? And they think, my favorite piece, and they feel it's almost like they don't want to say it because the other pieces of music will go, what? You like him better? You do know it's music, and it's not going to hear you.
So, yeah, but they're your children.
I know, but they're not, hopefully they're not named the same names as your kids. I mean, really, Brazilian would be an interesting name for a child, and so would the grind. Although I would get that kid. I would understand that kid if you call him the grind, and he's 15 years old and you're going, I know you, I was you.
I probably have a favorite piece from each album, and then I probably have favorite child piece overall.
Mm-hmm.
So on the current album, Resilient, it's almost a tie between Resilient and what's yet to be released called Stick With It. But if I had to pick between the two of them, I think I would pick Resilient. On the previous album, Relentless, probably Unstoppable.
Okay.
Going back to Dream, and this is oddly the song that's probably my favorite of all in that.
Mm-hmm.
It is the one song I can listen to and feel just tugging at my own heartstrings. And it's a song called Love Come My Way.
I think I listened to that one.
Love Come My Way is different, where you've got the aggression in Resilient and in Unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
Love Come My Way, I remember when I explained this song to one of my goddaughters. I wrote this song, love becomes a person in a way. And it's written from, and I know there are no lyrics, but it's written from the perspective of someone that has heard about this thing called love. And they've heard all these wonderful things, and people speak so wonderfully of this love, 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 but I've never met love, is this person's position. So they begin to cry out to love and pour out their soul, begging love, just come my way one time.
Yeah.
I just want to experience you one time so I can know what it's like, this great thing, love, that everybody speaks about. So when you hear the song, you can, if you listen, you'll hear the flute crying out and begging. And then you'll hear a point where the flute almost becomes anxious. And then it comes back off the anxiety, and it's like, okay, you know what? I give up. I need you. And then you hear, because this happens at the modulation, where apparently love has come. And you can hear the celebration of it and how thankful and joyous they are. And you almost hear the tears of joy. I love that song so much, and I can't wait until I get my career where I want it to be, so that when I do this thing live, it is not only what you hear and feel. I want to make it where you see. And though there are no words on that recording, and the words that will be added are very, very simple, very few. There's actually choir coming in from the wings.
Oh,
I can't even do it justice to describe it, and it gives me chills thinking about it. But Love Come My Way for me, oh my God, that's almost makes me cry every time I hear it.
because when I do remember, I listened to the piece, and what I got from the beginning was this sense of, I won't say emptiness, but it's like a longing.
Yes, that's it.
Sound is like a longing, and then it got to a point where it was almost, you went a transition from longing to, I would say, begging, and then fulfillment. And it went, I felt this kind of a empty space, and then kind of a pleading kind of sensation, and then all of a sudden fulfillment. So it's like you expect an orchestration to suddenly kick in, like like a music from above suddenly starts pouring in, because there it is. I've somebody's walked in the door, and that's the sensation I got from the music. When you were describing it, I was going, I remember the pieces, and then I'm playing it I play music in my head all the time, which is kind of bizarre because I also have conversations in there, and it's kind of weird to have conversations and music playing. But your piece, I'm playing it now, and I remember that the intro and the beginning of the piece, you sort of feel this longing, this emptiness, and you're going, oh, I get that. I get that right here. And then there's that piece where you're feeling like, well, okay, I don't beg, but why is it doing this to me? Why is it making me feel this? And then fulfillment. And it's, I can breathe. There's this huge intake of breath when you're listening to it, and it's, wow, smack in the face. What's going on?
Right.
So I love the piece. I love the piece from that perspective. That's a conversation piece. Well, actually, I don't know if it's a conversation as much as it's a monologue that becomes a dialogue, right? It's a one-way conversation out, and then all of a sudden you get an answer. It's almost like a prayer that suddenly you get an answer to.
Yes,
and it's that feeling of, I want, you first start placating, and okay, I understand, I get it, I don't know what this is, but I really need, and then all of a sudden it becomes, I really, 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 really need, and then a voice goes, and here it is, and you go,
yeah. It's, I won't say it never will be, it probably won't, but never be on the radio. And I'm saying that because, let me go here first. The reason why it would never be on the radio is because it's the longest song I've ever written and recorded. The song is 6.5 minutes long or something like that. Sure. And radio's just not going to touch that. It's already 2 minutes too long for them. And I bring up radio because I found out 2 weeks ago that one of my songs from Relentless, I don't know how long it's been there, but it's on Sirius XM Watercolors, and I never knew. I didn't know they knew about me. And it's another, as it turns out, it's another slow song / ballad called Remember Me.
Yes.
Which is, I wrote that because it's actually got dual purpose. The first purpose is, though a lot of people don't think this, it's written in the place of God talking to us. Mm-hmm. Remember me. The second purpose is, it's something that every single human being, if we're honest, we share this thing where we want to know that we matter. We want people to remember us, and remember us for the good. So a lot like Love Come My Way, in the beauty that I feel in it, and in the emotion I feel as well. And I think those two pieces, you probably hear my flute sing more than any other pieces I've ever played.
Well, your cover piece, and I'm trying to see here in Love the Way You Lie, when you're playing, you play both pieces in the chorus.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, they sound like you're singing. It sounds like a person is singing, even though it's just a flute playing. When you hear that, you just close your eyes and let yourself drift into it. You can actually almost hear language coming across. So that piece and the way you play it, and the fact that you play both pieces of it, and I was shocked that it was you. I thought that there were two people. And you have such a distinct difference that it sounds like two voices having a conversation, talking, doing that piece that's in the song in the original, the two people that are singing. It sounds like two different minds, two different people.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you can hear other players that can play multiple parts, and it's them playing all the parts. It's very easy to distinguish because you hear it's them, and you hear it's them, and you hear it's them, and you go, oh, they've tracked themselves. You listen to you, and again, you have to listen to that yourself. Go listen to the recording with your brain shut off. Just listen to the sounds. You will hear two distinct people. They're not the same. So you might be bipolar. I'm not sure, but you might.
I think the lead flute is Darryl, and then the harmony flute is Evan. That's
Of course, yes, we did talk about it. There is a split difference, but I'm not kidding. I listened to that. I thought it was two people playing. I did not think it was tracked until we had the conversation where you said, "Yeah, I play both." I had to ask.
Yeah,
because I've watched way too many of the videos to know that you don't play with another flautist.
okay. Since you mentioned that song,
Yeah.
just in case anybody is, for whatever reason, no harm, no foul, not familiar with the song. "Love the Way You Lie" is a song that was performed, recorded by Eminem and Rihanna.
Yeah.
So people might say, how does a flute guy do Eminem and Rihanna? Okay.
Listen to it.
It's a great. It is. Listen to their song. It is a great song, and I've always enjoyed the song. So obviously, I wasn't going to have somebody rap on the song, and then somebody had to play Rihanna's part. I had to get that harmony, so I did that. And where Eminem would be, now the flute needs to fill that space. So I had to come up with a melody that didn't exist, right? Or for what's basically the verse. I don't remember how I did or when I did, but I did. And when I first did it, I had no intentions of actually recording it and putting it on an album. I just did it because, man, I really like this song. Mm-hmm. Because as I told you previously, I accidentally one day listening to it realized what a beautiful piece of music that song really is.
Without the voices.
Without the voices on it, it is a beautiful song. And then I decided, okay, let me bring some of my classical brain in here because I love strings, especially the deeper, darker strings. Mm-hmm. So I had a buddy of mine come in and play that on the keyboard, of course, because, I can't afford an orchestra yet. So we added that. And I was so happy with how that came out. I like I said, it was not originally planned when I started recording the Resilient album. That just had to be on the album, and I'm glad I did it. It was fun to do. I won't say the least amount of pressure. I felt no pressure recording that song. Where with the originals, I felt a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but I mean that one, the expression that you have in it with your flute voice is phenomenal. Like you give the song credit. You say that it's a beautiful piece of music. When you listen to your interpretation of it, it is a phenomenal piece of music. And as I said, listening to the way you've done it, and to say that the string pieces that came through is done on a keyboard, you need to orchestrate. You need to get an orchestra behind you. Strings, cello, viola, violin. I would love to hear that at that level. And you'll need to graciously accept another flautist, practice with them so that you have the conversation. I wouldn't go in rough because the other flautist may communicate in an entirely different way, and you guys need to have that synergy of conversation going with the flutes to be able to play this song properly. Because you have the conversation in your own head so well when you hear it, even though it sounds distinctly different, the two pieces sound distinctly different, it's you and you. Yes. So you're comfortable enough that you're not having an argument. It's not headbutting. And trust me, I have listened to pieces that people have told me, listen to this and you'll hear the argument as opposed to a conversation. And even though it's beautifully played and you listen to the music, if you've got the right ear, you can hear they're angry. They're not happy with each other. The music sounds beautiful, but you can hear the way they're playing. It sounds like they're going, yeah, you think so? I don't like the way you...
Wow.
But the music sounds beautiful. To the untrained ear, you listen back and you go, that's a great song. But if you listen with the right ear and you're listening to the way they're playing, you're going, what is wrong with these people? Why are they so upset? Why are they angry? I'm feeling that emotion off the music. When you listen to yours, it's got this beautiful subtlety to it. There is no argument in there whatsoever. So you have a healthy brain. I'll give you that.
At least with that. Thank you. I think I've mentioned before, the way I want to present my music, now I've got to get there first, So Nothing against. I appreciate the opportunity to do, the clubs and the festivals and the concert venues and But the way I want to do it is to as vast an audience as I can. But I want a full orchestra behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And there were songs that I've written where if I could have, I don't know why no one. If someone's done it, I haven't been able to find it. I actually wanted timpani on my song, but I couldn't find a keyboard that would play a timpani, so I never got one. But I want a full orchestra, visual representation. I mean, something it's universal. It's I can take this thing to Dubai. I can take it to parts of South. I want to take it all. I want to be. I want to be in South Africa. I want to be all over the world with traveling with this orchestra, this major production where people are having such a musical experience. They don't want it to end. It doesn't feel like, and I mean, no disrespect to anybody, but it doesn't feel like a concert. It's this almost out of body existence for this period of time, that they never forget. I'm not trying to compare it to anything because I can't think of anything to compare it to, but I want, the full stage design and the lighting and I don't want the design and the lighting to be where it's a distraction from the orchestra and me. I want it to enhance it. I'm just going to name this one orchestra because of a super group that I saw get to perform with them. The official name is Metropole Orchestra. It's Austrian Metropolitan Orchestra.
Yeah.
Freaking amazing. If I could have an orchestra like that, and we travel the world and have this experience with people, that's what I want. So if, let's say, the concert event is 2 hours long, people are either going to know or they will learn that our time together is going to be 3 or 4 hours because it's 2 hours on stage. And then afterwards, let's mingle. That's what I want to do. How I'll get there, I don't need to know. I just want to make sure we get there. But
Can I add to that just for a bit?
Sure.
You're going to play around the world.
Yes, sir.
What you need to do, apart from having the orchestra that's part of what you're doing, the musical experience. Well, let's not call it a concert. Let's not call it an event. It's a musical experience. Regardless of how long it takes, you can say it's a 2-hour experience, but it's not. It's a 4-hour experience. It's a 2-hour musical event with 2 more hours of experience that goes on with it. I would get local artists of different cultural musical backgrounds to play. So when you're in South America, you get South American instrumentation embedded within the concert. When you're in South Africa, you get tribal cultural music embedded within the concert. When you are in Asia, you get Asian cultural musical instruments embedded within the concert. Don't just keep the same old, always change it. The voices change because you're in a different environment. Speak their language and play with it. Like I said, don't just play with.
That's what I want to do. Music is just, and the way I feel about it and the way I want to share it, I don't want to put it in a box, and because I got it, I'm going to be tied as far as the industry and radio goes to smooth jazz. And I mean, no disrespect to smooth jazz, but that's why I came up with the title of instrumental soul, because there's so many different components that make up my style, whether on my flute and or in my writing and orchestrating. Because music, my God, there's so much good music out there. I know, especially in America, God bless America, yes. Some people in America like to put every single thing in its own little category and nobody cross that line. To me, while there's beauty in each one of those categories, imagine how greater the beauty is when you allow them to blur the lines. Can you imagine if I did a song, for example, let's go back to Love Come My Way, and the few words that will be sung in this one part, imagine if one of the vocalists is Mark Anthony. It wouldn't happen because, who's going to afford that? But a voice like Mark Anthony's,
Mhm.
and then you have a voice like Shaka Khan's, and then you have a voice, Chris Daughtry. These far-reaching, but you put them together, and you do them in a way that someone like, God rest his soul, Quincy Jones, had a knack for getting all these different people and making their voices get in where they fit in.
Yep.
Man, what that would be like. Now, the
Yeah.
closest I can come to that is this music experience that I envision, and I just hope the world finds a way not to implode before we can make this happen.
Well, you want to get the people that you mentioned and possibly more voices in there, is you turn this into, you, instead of being just the ambassador of instrumental soul, you become the ambassador of global instrumental soul, or the voice of global instrumental soul. And it becomes a charity event for getting, global peace, getting global, people that are in distress, getting refugees in distress, getting children in distress. You
That I
pick
do.
a direction, and now you have the people that will play a part, and they will do it because they want to, not because you've asked them or you're paying them to. They want to do it because it's in them to speak.
Oh man, brother, you don't. When you were saying that, here's what I was thinking. Not that we as the inhabitants of this planet should not work for peace, and not to sound like a pessimist. That to me is far less attainable than solving issues like hunger.
Mhm.
Now, thank God, as though I grew up in the projects, I never knew hunger. We were not rich, but we were never hungry. We were very blessed. My father worked his tail off. My mother, the same thing. And when things got tight, even, I still remember one time things must have been tight, and my brothers and I didn't know it. And it was dinner time, and my mother had gone into the room and said something to my father about dinner. Now, my father did physical labor. He was a garbage man. That's what he did.
Mhm.
And he never knew that we knew this. But his response to my mother was, make sure the boys have enough to eat. And I remember thinking, what are you going to do? You got to go to work, So in living in a country like America, where we throw away more food than a lot of countries can consume. And now, in fairness, folks, anybody who's not in America, I'm not defending wrongdoing. I'm just explaining to you all real quickly why a lot of this happens. It's not because, though we are wasteful, it's not just because we're wasteful. It's because, unfortunately, those with the greatest of intentions have been sued trying to feed hungry people.
Mhm.
So rather than pay these lawsuits, dump the food. So, but I think it's a mortal sin to have anybody on this planet hungry when there's so much excess. So I would love to do something. Man, you have put some nuggets in here tonight.
That's good.
I didn't plan on writing anything down, and normally there's not even a pen in here, but there's a pen and a piece of paper sitting here, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, let's.
Meant to be,
Yes.
man. It's meant to be.
I can see it, and especially now that I've been blessed at a point in my career now where 2 months now, we're going to the second month. I never thought I would have one because I never thought I needed one. I actually have a professional publicist, and yeah. So the reach into places is way greater than it ever would have been otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So folks, stay tuned because before you know it, we're going to be coming at you.
Good.
Well, you obviously have a passport as well, so you're probably going to have to MC the show. I'm just putting that out there. I'm just putting it out there.
Perfectly happy to do so. Perfectly happy to do so. I would enjoy that. I would absolutely enjoy that because, number one, I'd get to see you play live. Number two, I'd get to be the chip inside your head every time you were supposed to go out to play and say, look, man, you are good at what you do. Now get out there and kill it.
Oh gosh, you just
And your wife would be standing next to me going, I told you so.
I'm sorry. You gave me a flashback to something very, very twisted. I was just talking to my wife about it yesterday about it. I won't name names, but there's a video on YouTube from several years ago, and it's a celebrity roast. And there's this one comedian on there who apparently is out of his league and doesn't know it. Told you I didn't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
There's another comedian who is just amazing. And he gets into this guy's head. And the most famous line that the ace comedian says, which just wrecks this guy's whole performance, is that the guy says, okay, whatever ace comedian name is. And he says, I'm not ace comedian. I'm your conscience. That would be you for me. But
I don't want to wreck you, man. I want to lift you up.
You would, but you would bring me back, because let's be honest, sometimes this is the beauty of coaching, because that whether you realize it or not, that's one of your gifts. You have the gift to coach, and one of the things that an effective coach knows how and when to do is the proverbial "come on." And you've got that.
Nah, come on. What are you talking about? Well, I have to say, because the audience has been listening to us talk about your music, I want to actually introduce them to a piece.
Okay.
I would love to play all of your music right now, but we have to pick a selection, and you've selected Resilient. So right now, the powerful, evocative, and dynamic sound of Darryl Evan Jones with Resilience. Enjoy.
Wow, man, you really don't know what you have done tonight. I didn't see this coming. I did.
Hopefully, I put something in your head that gives you that. Remember, you were talking about the challenge. This is the challenge, man. I want to see this, and I'll MC it. And, you give me the call, and I'll be there. I'll MC this thing. I have no problem doing that whatsoever.
In fact, I'm going to. If I hadn't already told you, my publicist's name is Tom Estey, Estey.
Don't go to Quebec with
What's
him.
wrong? Why?
Don't go to Quebec with him. Because if you say, this is Tom Estey, they'll go, hey, what's the matter with him? That's swearing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, when you say Estey, that's essentially, it's in French using things like tabernacle and the chalice and things like that. These are swear words in French. So Estey, I believe, is like saint.
Wow.
But they use it in the derogatory. So you say it's Tom Estey. They go, ooh, what's wrong with Tom?
How about that?
Yeah, so let him know that if people give him dirty looks when he's in Quebec and somebody's introducing him, this is Tom Estey. Really?
It's not
Hey,
personal.
Tom, what's wrong with you?
Tom, it's really not personal. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm gonna. In fact, this guy, the people he either does and or has represented, it's incredible. It's from Cheryl Lee Ralph to Richard Simmons to Jennifer Aniston. I mean, so the fact that I was able to get on his roster,
Yeah.
just validation of, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, use it. And now that you got some seeds in your head, take that, run with it, throw it at him and say, can we make this happen? Can we make this work? And he'll go, yeah, let me make a couple of calls. Let me see what I can do. Let me drag it out.
I like this. I really, ooh, man, I like this. Ooh, 2020.
Because regardless of the ego of career, this is one of those moment things. This is one of those things. If you actually go out and do this is one of those things. It's legacy. Your
Yes.
children's children will say, my grandfather went out and did this. Watch this concert. Watch him. This is him on stage. This is him. This is him helping the world. He's got all these different artists with him. He's got all these people that are playing with him, and they're all doing it because of love, of sharing a voice, of expressing an emotion. So you imagine the piece that you talked about, that the love piece, but getting people, different cultural people, putting that out and using their voices and expressing that feeling, going from a desire to fulfillment. I mean, there's a piece that actually showcases the entire show. We have a need, let's fulfill it. I definitely want to thank you for coming on today, Darryl. It was insightful, it was enjoyable, and I really look forward to what's coming in the future. Give me a call, give me a shout. Whenever you get things coming out, I want to hear the new stuff. I want to hear you growing and evolving. I've listened to you and your music as it's changed and modified. And as you said, you always want to make it better. I want to hear better. I want to hear your voice get better and better every single time. So please keep me in the loop.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
You just a phenomenal guy. I really can't thank you enough. This has been more than enjoyable, and thanks to your team and my team, Demetria Head in particular, for helping to put this together. This has been one of my best, I don't even call it an interview, one of my best conversations ever. And like I said, I didn't plan on writing a single thing down, and I've got a paper full of stuff here. So, thank you so much.